Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Wilson here with my good friend and co-host, Adrian Wright, and this is
The Supernatural and Beyond.
Given the days and times we live in, it's kind of hard not to think about what maybe your grandparents or great-grandparents told you about, maybe Judgment Day, the wrath of God, end of days. Well, we here at the Supernatural and Beyond are here to tell you that it's all of the above.
Yeah, every single one of those. Lots of interesting stuff we got in this series. It's called Time of the End, right?
Time of the end.
Time of the End. So what is the time of the end, and what does that look like, Tony? I mean, you touched on some of it briefly. Judgment days, wrath of God, the end of days. So are we in those times? Is it close to those times? Is those times already passed? There's a lot of questions, a lot of open-end stuff.
A lot of questions, a lot of open-end stuff, even for me.
Yeah.
Now, I take time to do research, to study, whether it be the Hebraic text, the Mesopotamian text, the Babylonian text, and they've all pointed to a time when all of this that we now know will end.
Yes.
And there will be a new in the beginning.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. In Revelations, it talks about a new heaven
And a new earth.
and a new earth. I mean, it's like, hey, I'm just getting used to this one.
Yeah.
But it will be without all of the pollution and contamination from the adversary or Satan or the fallen ones, where it's like Adam and Eve were given an opportunity. The Creator told them, you follow the instructions, it's going to be hunky-dory.
Yeah.
You don't, you will die.
Yeah.
Well, even death is going to be removed.
Yes.
And so consequently, don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole. So consequently, there has to be a conclusion to all of these things that have been happening.
Right.
So what we're coming into now is like a woman giving birth.
Yeah, the birth pains.
Birth pains. Whereas, when the water breaks, we know, we're real close.
Yeah, I got to go to the hospital. That baby's coming.
But we don't know whether it's going to be an hour from now or 36 hours from now. I've heard some really long labors.
Yeah.
So we're in that time. So we should be aware of what's going on.
We should pay attention to those signs and those wonders and all that kind of stuff. And like you were saying, the old earth, the old heaven will pass away and there'll be a new one. And I like that because it kind of foreshadows also what happens with us. Like, this is our old body and that will pass away and we'll come back with a new body as well, a spiritual body, one that won't decay.
Yeah, one that won't decay, living forever. People say, well, I want to live forever, or I don't want to be sick.
And if you think about it, that's automatically embodied in our brains. Like, we grow up as kids and we're like, we're going to live forever. It's all going to last forever.
It's gonna live
because
forever,
we're pre-programmed to feel like we're going to live forever. And that's why people get hooked up with like that cryo frozen stuff.
Cryogenics.
Yeah, in case they want to be brought back to life later when the technology exists. It's like people just kind of want to keep going,
Yeah, transhumanism, where they're going to put machine parts in you or electronic implants in you to keep you going on and on and on. Well, it's like with the faith, trust, and confidence in the Creator, He has given us immortality. We will live forever. Yeah. We will not experience sickness, disease, and death. Even in this present day and time, there are ways by which the Creator has guaranteed us that we don't have to deal with these things.
Right, right.
And that's why a lot of martyrs decided to say, hey, look, go ahead and kill me. I'm not going to break the confidence and the trust that I have in the Creator. He told me that I'm going to get all that's on the other side. Let's get to the other side, baby.
Yeah.
Get it on.
And I have that trust and I have that relationship and I can't turn my back on the Creator. So that's why they go down as martyrs. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of interesting stuff. And moving right into this, we're talking about like the end of times. And you mentioned earlier Judgment Day. And one thing that popped in my head was the Terminator movie. Terminator Judgment Day.
Yeah, I know.
And you think about the Terminator things, it was just like what you were saying, how they had like, cyborg, in the latest couple movies they were. It was a mix of the Terminator and a mix of
That was the last
Human.
one. That was the last one.
Yeah,
that was the last
one.
one.
The one before the last one. There's so many Terminator movies now.
Yeah, right.
But it gets confusing. But it brings us back to that point of Judgment Day. Like, everybody kind of knows that last day is coming. And, as we're talking about this, it mentions signs and wonders in the heavens. And we've talked about signs in the heavens in other series that we've done. But one of the signs that it says is the sun will become dark, right? It'll lose its power. And the moon will turn to blood. And I don't know if a lot of people notice this, but if you go and you look at it, there's no sunspots right now on the sun. Last year it started where there were no sunspots. So the sun is already getting a little dimmer, because when it has that sunspots, it's brighter and it's stronger. And I think, like, the astronomers that are studying the sun and NASA that's studying the sun, they call it a solar lull. Like where you hit a lull and everything kind of drops down. So the sun's not as bright, and we could be living in these biblical times where it says the sun becomes dimmer.
I hadn't heard that yet.
Yeah, so it's something to look into, and it's something to research. And I found it interesting because, they put out all that information on climate change and mankind's destroying the planet. And it's like, if the sun loses its power, that's enough to freeze the earth, And so you start thinking about last year, the summer wasn't as strong. It was a more mild of a summer, and we had about a month where it was like beach weather, and then the rest of it was like 65, 70 degrees, and it's June and July. So I just noticed that last year. I thought it was very, very interesting. But the signs and the wonders in the heaven is another key to pay attention to discern the times and the seasons.
Right. That's what, again, we talked about astronomy. And as the celestial bodies move through the heavens,
yes,
they are also used for signs, times,
and
seasons by which we can know what's going on.
Yeah.
How did the ancient peoples, all over the face of the earth, keep tabs of, what month it was? Each civilization has a calendar of some sort. Here in Southern California, we're more familiar with the Aztec calendar. Yeah. But the fact that they had a calendar was just amazing. And they weren't mass produced. It was only a select group of individuals, the priest and the spiritual ones. Those were the ones that basically kept all of that information. And so just want to kind of keep it moving here. We got a lot of information to cover. There was even one day when Yeshua was being asked by his circle, his inner circle, the Talmudim, or his apostles.
Right.
Not the prophets, but the apostles. And what they were doing were they were asking him, tell us, what's going to be the signs? What's going to be the things that's going to happen during that time period, during the time of the end?
Yeah.
And he said more specifically, at the time of the end, there will be many false prophets.
Right.
Case in point, the word fake news comes to mind.
Fake news.
A lot of the misinformation and disinformation that's being disseminated.
Deception, that's
a good word.
Yeah.
Deception being disseminated on the media.
Right.
And I'm not trying to point fingers at anybody.
Right.
But when you consistently show a lack of truth, that's the way I'm going to put it, a lack of truth, then consequently people are going to start looking elsewhere. Hey, well, where is the real truth?
Yeah.
So this message is very apropos. Many false prophets. And just one more little thing, breaking it down. What a prophet does, a prophet brings the message from Yahweh God Elohim to the people.
Right.
The priests take the praise and worship to Yahweh God Elohim.
Yeah.
So prophets definitely play a very critical and key role. So we want to pay attention to the true prophets ignore the false prophets.
But it is deception will run rampant. And then he says, do not be fooled. False Christ will lead many astray, right? And then also the false prophets. others that will falsify what the Bible says, what the Hebrew scriptures say. It will all be misleading. So there will be false prophets that try to lead people away. There will be false Christs. There will be ones that say they are the Messiah.
Right.
They are the ones that you're looking for. And that is one of the things to pay attention to, is those lies, the deception, and then like another thing he brings up is wars and rumors of wars.
Exactly.
Yes. So the wars and the rumors of wars. And what I like in the ancient Hebrew text is it says, it translates revolutions on every side. And I feel like we're kind of in that time period now where we have wars and rumors of wars. And then we have that revolutions on other sides, because people are trying to have a revolution about this event. They're trying to start a protest or a revolution about another kind of event. And it's not just happening like in this part of the world or that part of the world. It's happening different places. And then you have countries like, what's going on? Do we have wars with this nation, or does that nation have wars with that nation? Like, one of the things that come to mind is when Russia invaded the Ukraine, or when Russia invaded Syria. And it's like, what's going on in those nations? You know, what's really happening? And can we believe those false news reports or those real news reports? Like, which is the truth?
Which one? Yeah, it's so hard to tell. One of the things that I really like about what Messiah was saying, he was saying these things must happen. So we are witnessing the very unfolding of the end times and the scriptures being fulfilled right before our very eyes. All we have to do is turn on the TV or look on our phones. Bada boom, bada bing. It's happening right then and there. Right. One of the other things it was saying, for people will fight each other, nations will fight each other, and there will be families and, famines and earthquakes in various parts of the world. And these are the beginnings of the birth pains.
The beginnings, right?
The beginning.
And with earthquakes, I found in there another translation says seismic events. Epic proportion. So like, we have these earthquakes and we're like waiting for the big one. Living in California, there's always talk, the big one. We had earthquakes last weekend and stuff. But this is going to be of epic proportion. Some that we have never seen. Earthquakes so great that it's going to completely shake the foundations of everything that can be shaken. Yeah. And it's like we're seeing this stuff now. We're living in these times now. And we're seeing this on all sides, because you have, like, they called North Korea the Hermit Kingdom, right? I don't know if you ever heard that, but
no,
the terminology
I never heard that term.
Hermit Kingdom, because it was smaller compared to South Korea, because South Korea is advanced. They have like capitalism. They have these successful companies, and then North Korea is like a dictatorship, and it's the Hermit Kingdom. It's smaller. It's not as powerful, and they have deception. Like, oh, we're doing this, and oh, we're doing that. But you see the news reports, and there's not that many people. So it's very interesting stuff to see. Another thing that I like is the Messiah had a message. And in this message, he's telling you about these wars and these rumors of wars and these plagues and these famines and these earthquakes. But the most important thing he said is, do not panic and do not fear. And that is a great point there. And that takes us even deeper into more information. So we're going to have to come back and do part 2 and check and watch part 2. And we'll see you next time.